Hello again. This is Lewis Bright Raven. You're watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven on Facebook and YouTube. Today is the 8th day of the Booktober event where I do comic reviews daily for the month of October. We don't have any questions this week, or today rather I should say. John Norris says hello. Hello, John. We're going to have a second episode tonight, which is the regular podcast at 9 p.m. That will be airing only on YouTube. The reason for that is because it's more TV 16 and up rated in sort of the tone, and there will be some other reviews for books that I didn't feel comfortable sharing on Facebook due to content. With that being said, let's go ahead and go straight to our reviews for the day. We will start with Marvel True Believers, Black Widow and Daredevil #1. It was $1. Publisher was Marvel. The writer was Jerry Conway. The artist, Gene Colan and Jack Abel. The genre is superhero. I don't know who colored the book. It didn't say in the credits. The cover date is June 20th. It may have actually been released this month, October 20th, due to the COVID situation. I can't remember if I had it in my box and just went in, or it came out this week or what. Anyway, what it's about is this is a reprint of Daredevil #81 that was supposed to coincide with the release of the Black Widow movie, but COVID messed everything up. The story is in media res. That means it's in the middle of the story. There's events that take place that really would have helped if you'd understand what was going on with the story, but it doesn't kill the story. And there are a few other issues I could raise in terms of the storytelling, but overall it's an okay issue. Just not one that I think best represents a one-shot reprint. I have to admit I hate the production on this particular book because Gene Colan's work, for me, it just looks terrible on high gloss stock. His style was and is better suited to a newsprint style, or at best light Baxter paper, bright Baxter paper, but not glossy stock. It loses the dimensionality of his style, the way he does pencils and inks. It doesn't look right to me in the modern printing styles. So that was a distraction for me. Before the money, I'm not going to let it bother me too much. Basically, the story is Daredevil fights the Owl, crashes a helicopter into the river, and is drowning, and Black Widow rescues him. We cut into another part of the story where Karen Page, Matt Murdock's old flame, is now an actress, and I do a little subplot of what's going on with her, and then they cut back to both Black Widow and Daredevil individually figuring out what the Owl next move is, and they team up to defeat the Owl. The end. Nothing too snazzy, nothing horrendous. Conway just does pretty much a by-the-numbers story. I think the original newsprint would just capture the nuance and atmospheric qualities of Colan's art better than what the high gloss stock does. And other than that, it's a good reprint, decent reprint. I give it 4 stars, and I recommended it for ages 12 and up. Let's take a look at some of the artwork for that. And this is not too bad. I mean, it shows up okay. I picked some of the better pages that came out in the book. There's a few other pages that just really bothered me. These were pretty decent, though. And here's another one. Again, some of the atmosphere, some of these colors, this bright yellow, it kind of kills some of the dynamicism to me, I guess. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen what it would look like in the newsprint comparatively. let's go ahead and go on to the next book. And that is We Only Find Them When You're Dead, number 2. No, it's $3.99 from Boom Studios. The writer is Al Ewing. The artist is Simone DeMeo with a color assist by Maria Sarah Miati. The genre is science fiction, and it was released yesterday, October 7th, 2020. What it's about? Well, basically the crew that we were introduced in the first issue, which I just reviewed like a day or two ago in Booktober, so you might want to go back and refresh your memory on that. They've escaped into warp space, and the whole issue is basically a flashback as to why these crew members agreed to make this attempt to find a living god instead of dead gods. A lot of the whole story for this whole issue was frivolous, meaningless attempts at creating relationships, particularly sexual ones, that frankly do not add anything to the story for me. I don't give a damn who your characters are sleeping with. I give a damn about what actually makes them tick. If getting groiny is the only thing that matters to them, then why should I or anybody else care? Anyway, they think they've escaped the escort police people, but one science fiction sheriff, Buford T. Justice, without a sense of humor, follows them into warp and plans to blow them out into space dust as soon as possible. I'm bored now. The comic had a lot of potential coming out of the gate on the first issue, but like I said yesterday or the day before when I reviewed it, but get to the damn point of the book. This was a complete waste of an issue space as far as I'm concerned. Blech. I will still give the series another issue, but if the plot doesn't move along and get somewhere, I'm dropping the title. This rating is 2.5 stars. It's recommended for 15 and up. The artwork is okay, but again, here we go. Bed scenes. I don't really care. I don't care if it's male and female. I don't care if it's male and male. I don't care if it's female and female. I don't care. And basically, this is a scene where the guy that was sleeping with the captain, now it's his older sister saying, "What the heck's wrong with you? Why do you want to do this? Thanks for basically, wrapping me up into this because I wouldn't have done it," type thing. So it is, he can't even tell her why he wants in on this mission. So it's very dumb. And then this is where they're in warp, and he finds out that we've got the cop right behind them, and he basically says, well, if we can detect her, she can see us. She has the better system. This is an old ship, hers is new. She can set her warp to cut out as soon as ours does, and then she shoots us down. So, way it is. So it's kind of a weird thing. Anyway, next book is Howard the Duck, number 1 from 2015. It is $3.99 from Marvel Comics. The writer is Chip Zdarsky. The artist is Joe Quiones, with the colors by Rico Renzi. The genre is comedy adventure, and it was released in 2015. What it's about? Well, after Howard gets out of jail for being drunk again, he heads back to his office. Apparently, he's going to work as a private investigator in Marvel 616, and he balls out the She-Hulk for not answering his call to get him bailed out. She tells him off and informs him he has a client he has waiting in his PI's office. It turns out that the client had a necklace stolen by the Black Cat, and nobody can do anything about it, so can he find it and get it back? Howard calls Spider-Man, who tells him to forget about it. Howard instead goes after the Black Cat, and hilarity, and I put that in quotations, ensues. Don't get me wrong, Zdarsky tries to be funny. He really does. He makes it good. I mean, he's trying. But it's just is what it is. Ultimately, some aliens come and zap Howard, and everybody thinks he's dead, but it actually transported him to a prison spaceship, and he's winds up with none other than Rocket Raccoon. End of issue. The art by Quiones is okay, and like I said, Zdarsky is really trying hard to do the job right with the comedy, but I don't really think he gets the absurdist nature that Steve Gerber was doing when as the master of this particular character, when the character was presented in the 1970s. A lot of the comedy is this lowbrow, shoot from the hip, snark, and witty dialogue, and that's not what Howard the Duck is about, in my opinion. I'm not really interested in any more issues personally, sorry, but it is pretty much an average modern day comic book. It is for ages 15 and up, and I give it 3 stars. Let's take a look at some of the art. He's basically screaming at Jen, who's in the window. She throws a brick at him and then tells him, your client's waiting outside your office, duck. They go in his office. He shows the necklace, everything like that, and it's just there. Again, it's not bad by any means, but move on to the next one. Our next book is MADMAN Comics #1 from 1994. It is $2.95 cover price. The publisher is Dark Horse Comics. The line artist is Mike Allred, colors by Laura Allred. The genre is superhero adventure. It was released originally in April of '94, and what it's about, this first issue begins a 6-page introduction. It begins with a 6-page introduction that finds Frank, aka Madman, having his brainwaves recorded, explaining much of what has gone on in previous Madman series in a quick motif blend of images, basically. Then we get to the main story, Crash Course for the Ravers, which involves creatures from outer space that crash into the outskirts of Snap City, which is Madman's hometown, as local street beatniks are altered by an unknown element found in the city's sewers. Madman's world contains robots, aliens, mad scientists, and monsters, and the comics boast a hyper-kinetic blend of action, adventure, science fiction, mystery, and romance. Recommended for ages 13 and up. I gave it 4 stars. I don't know. I gave it 4 stars probably because I'm also familiar enough with the brand. I don't know if I had gotten this back in '94 if I would have given it that high. Probably would have only given it a 3, but I don't know. Let's take a look at the art. The art's very solid. It is Mike Allred from 25 years ago, but Mike is what he is, and it's pretty solid work even back then. And basically, he's seeing images of his past, and he's also looking at his future as well, apparently through this brain recorder machine of some inexplicable explanation. He says, it's all in my head. I can see everything, who I was, who I am, who I will be. I can see my death, all. But overall, it's not bad. Let's go ahead and move on to the next book. Norse Mythology, $3.99. It's issue #1, $3.99. Publisher is Dark Horse Comics. The writer is Neil Gaiman. The artists are P. Craig Russell, Mike Mignola, and Jerry Ordway, with colors by Laverne Kindzierski and Dave Stewart. The genre is mythological tales, and it was released yesterday, October 7th, 2020. And what it's about, Gaiman and friends adapt 3 different Norse, that's the Asgardian, Myths. Yggdrasil, that's the tree of Asgard, in the Nine Worlds, Mimir's head and Odin's eye, and Treasures of the Gods. All three are exceptionally well done, but the last one is only part one of the story. The other two are pretty much self-contained shorts. It's still very well worth the money spent, especially if you're not that familiar with the mythology itself and just the Marvelized version of Asgard. I recommend it for ages 13 and up, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars. This is P. Craig Russell's artwork. Very nice stuff going on here. He explains all the different Nine Worlds. He mentions different characters that will take part in the overall mythology that are really kind of cool. This is Mike Mignola's segment where Odin plucks out his eye and puts it into the pool, Mimir's pool, so that he can drink from it and gain his wisdom. And the eye stays in the pool. And later, Mimir, a different person, gets his whole head put in the pool as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's, there we go. We see where Odin returned to the well and replaced Mimir's head beside his own eye in the waters of knowledge, and then gave Heimdall the horn so that whenever Ragnarok started, Heimdall could sound the horn and let everybody know it was happening. The Treasures of the Gods is a different story. It begins with Thor's wife, the beautiful Sif. Most of you who are Marvel Comics fans know her to be a dark-haired woman. That is not the case in actual mythos. She was actually a blonde originally and had very long, flowing locks of golden hair. And one morning, Thor woke up and found Sif to be completely bald. And that's because Loki pulled one of his stunts, and so Loki is now going to get his butt kicked. John Norris says, I remember Madman. I liked Allred's style. Yep. So anyway, Thor does confront Loki, and Loki says, oh, I can't give her back her hair. I was drunk, and I thought it was a funny joke, but I don't remember the spell. I don't know how I did it or anything. And Thor says, well, I'll just kill you then, unless you get this figured out, And he's like, okay, I'll figure it out. And he's trying to negotiate getting actual hair made out of strands of gold by the elves of Elfheim and other places in the Nine Realms. Where that's going to lead, we don't know for sure, because, like I said, it's only part one of the story. So we'll see where that goes. I'm going to keep following that series. Let's go ahead and go on to our next book, which is Red Tornado 1 through 4 miniseries from 1985. The publisher was DC Comics, the writer was Kurt Busiek, and the artists were Carmine Infantino and Frank McLaughlin on the line art, with Tom Ziocco for colors. This is an early effort by Busiek in his career. And what it's about, this was the actual ads that they put in the comics for that miniseries as well. What it's about, spurned by the Justice League of America, ostracized by humanity, The Red Tornado must face the construct alone. Red Tornado, who is an android possessed of the elemental force of a tornado, feels alienated from the human race but protective of it. He's the only one who can tackle the construct, which is a disembodied electronic consciousness cohered or made out of the network of electronic signals that fill Earth's atmosphere, and it's intent on enslaving the will of every living creature on Earth, be it animal, human, or superhero. Can the Red Tornado, a machine himself and the only being immune to the construct's ability, save the world from the construct, and can he discover his value to humanity? Recommended for ages 11 up, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Again, this is an early Busiek script. Historically, it was done right before Crisis, and he was trying to do something with the character. He was trying to really develop the character into something, and then Crisis came along and said, well, everything that you're doing in this mirror series isn't going to matter anyway because we're just with it. And I don't know if that happened in the middle of the production of the storyline and if that affected his the way he handled writing it or what. But it's a little bit off. It's a little bit hit and miss. So it could be a little bit of just him being a young writer, just learning the ropes at the time, or it could be the situation, what was going on behind the scenes politically and creatively at the company. Probably a little bit of both. Overall, story's not bad. I don't want to give too much away of it, basically. If it's something that people want to see, you can get it in a trade collection, I do believe, or you can download it off of DC Comics online type thing. They do have it there. But like I said, for me, it was just kind of an average story. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the art. This is a 2-page spread. This is basically what I could get off the internet at the time because I didn't have time to try and get the books scanned. I apologize for that. But it's a nice image. In this particular part of the story, Red is facing a different tornado. It's an actual natural tornado that's coming around, and he's going to basically counteract the direction of whatever the tornado is going to counter it out and cancel it out. That's what he's about to do when he's flying up to there to save the humans from the tornado's effects. And then this is another 2-page spread in a later issue where basically all of the humans have already been possessed at one point or another. And the Justice League has sort of been freed, and they're fighting some of the construct robotic army, but they're easily controlled, more or less, as a result. The art is definitely Infantino on a lot of levels. I'm not sure if McLaughlin was the best inker for him. I was a big fan of Infantino on Star Wars, especially when it had Austin inking him. I wish Austin had inked this. I think it would have looked a lot tighter. I think a lot of people would have liked it a lot more. This, in 85, even in 85, this kind of has a little bit of an older stylistic feel to it because, Infantino had been around for a long time at that point. So that might be another reason why, even though Kurt was going to do something that was actually pretty important to the character and revamp the character, that could be why DC ultimately kind of squashed its significance at that time. Again, he was also a very young writer at that time, so I think he only had like 3 other stories published at that point. So, we'll see. Obviously, we saw how Kurt matured into an exceptional writer contributing some excellent works over the years. So it was just a nice thing to show one of his earliest works. Let's go ahead and go on to our next book. And that is The Mighty Thor #1. It is $4.99. This is from January 2016. The publisher is Marvel. The writer was Jason Aaron. Artist is Russell Dodderman with Matthew Wilson colors. The genre is superhero. Ages 13 and up. It is a 5-star book. That's right, a Marvel book with 5 stars. And what it's about is Jane Foster is dying of cancer. Thor, Odin's son, has been deemed unworthy of the mystical hammer of Mjolnir. And for some reason, the hammer has now chosen Jane to be the new wielder of the hammer. So she is now Lady Thor. The problem is, whenever she transforms into Thor, any treatment that she has received for the cancer is eradicated by the mystical properties of the hammer. She's immune to it while she's Thor, but when she gets back into her human form, her health only gets worse. What's worse, even still, is that her beloved Odin's son doesn't even realize that it's her and the Thor persona and doesn't like her having his hammer. This was the best thing Marvel's produced in the last decade, as far as I'm concerned. There was very little about it I could ever complain about that run. The only thing I might have done differently is the cancer might have been mystical in nature, because I would have said she got the cancer from being infected by the Aether in Thor: The Dark World movie, and that Thor didn't lose his hammer by being unworthy, but he bequeathed it to her instead and became Dr. Don Blake and was looking for a cure. That would have been the only thing I would have changed. Everything else, Jason Aaron and Russell Dodderman really did a bang-up job. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing for those of you who aren't aware of the ending of the story, but if I were actually going to buy any Marvel, other than any Marvel books, for reading for my own collection, this would have been the only series to qualify. We'll take some more look at the art. And this is not actually a page switch over. I spliced these two pages together. That had to do with time and the way Marvel put a bunch of ads in between pages that kind of cut the story a little bit. So I spliced this a little bit together. So there's that. I don't know if I have any more Thor or don't. Okay. Let me go ahead and pull out the Thor book real quick then, because I think you guys should see more of it than just that. I was just limited on time today, trying to get all the stuff scanned. This is the blank cover. That's the front and side cover. They have a Roxxon satellite, and a bunch of aliens' bodies, Skrulls, are like sent like different projectiles, and it wrecks the satellite. There's lasers shooting the satellite down and wrecking the satellite, and it's going to crash into Washington, D.C. And there she is getting her treatment, and she's like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to turn into Thor. She calls Mjolnir, and she finds a way out of the hospital, and Mjolnir comes from the other realm into this realm. She picks it up and becomes Thor. So that kind of gives you the full context there. There's a few other things in here that are kind of amusing. The Avengers are trying to stop what's left before it hits the Washington Monument, and Tony Stark's on the phone, so to speak, in his ear, on his Iron Man armor. Yes, we know we gotta stop this. Just give us a second, we'll figure it out. Hey, how are we gonna do this? Dr. Strange goes, we're not, she is. And she pulls the thing out, and just in the nick of time type thing. So that was a funny little thing that they did there. Overall, though, I'm really quite interested in this. And then she goes to Asgardia. And as you can see, the female Thor is considered a false Thor, a thief, even though some people know who she is and what's going on. So, I actually do have a Thor, another copy of this that I actually did an illustration on. I don't have it right-handed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab that real quick. I'll be right back. And that is my illustrated cover that I did. And I did this in 2017. It's been sitting around for a while. And it is $35 if you happen to be interested in that. Or, as you see, I got the blank one as well. I can do a different one for you. So there's that. Let's go to our next book. And that is X-Men Battle of the Atom #1. Publisher is Marvel. Writer is Brian Michael Bendis. The artist is Art Adams for the cover and Frank Cho interiors. He's actually, it's Cho, Stuart Eminem, and Wade Von. I can't remember his last name. Garbarker, maybe. But anyway, it was superhero genre. November 2013 was when it was released. And what it's about is Kitty Pryde and the original teenage X-Men from the beginning, who were transported to our time today to see what their future would be, are out on patrol when a new mutant comes out to destroy things. They try to stop her and are about to succeed when Sentinels appear, and it takes the adult version of Cyclops and his team to come to their aid. Okay, whatever. Losing interest fast. Yeah, I'm done. Not even the brilliant art by Art Adams and Frank Cho can save this slop. Wade Von Grawbadger. Yes, Grawbadger. I would have gotten to it, John, but thank you. I could not remember how to say his name. Anyway, as I was trying to say, even the brilliant art by Adams and Cho cannot save this slop. When the hell are people, today's so-called writers, going to learn that when you start a new series, there should not be any back info dump from other series? This is a new book, so write it fresh and introduce it as though it's all new, because you're going to get new people who don't know this back history stuff, and they don't want to be indoctrinated with all that stuff. You're just not going to get new readership this way. That's why we have such a hard time gaining new readers in modern comics. So, write it fresh. But we can't. Everything is so intertwined now. That's because you writers suck. Because you do it wrong. And this is hardly a Brian Bendis thing. This is just how broken modern comics are in their current format and structure. You cannot build new audiences if you have umpteen titles that one has to follow to get caught up to speed as to what the hell's going on in a brand new #1 issue. Titles have to be written so as they can stand alone. At least Frank Cho's art is nice to look at. And yes, you were right about Grawbadger. Thank you again for getting that in there. Unfortunately, even though the art's really nice, the story is 2.5 stars. Sorry. Again, here's this nice art. There's why has Grawbadger. There wasn't that. This lettering era with yellow, with white on that yellow is crap. It should be black lettering instead of white so you can actually read the damn credits. This is a split in person in the foreground in the bottom left corner. That's supposed to be Ilyana Rasputin. Magic. She supposedly has taken her her power to teleport through time and space to go see what the future looks like. And I guess this is, a bunch of, it's Beast with a rocket and a Gatling gun shooting up Sentinels. Iceman is a rock troll. Deadpool is wearing a hoodie instead of a mask, and he has spiky stuff on his shoulder pads now. It's like, yeah, am I supposed to be caring? I just don't. But anyway, they cut back, and they're talking about, Bendis is trying to give you an overview. Xavier founded the X-Men to pursue his dream of peace between humans and mutants and blah, blah, blah. Now he's dead. The X-Men are divided. Wolverine and Cyclops are leading separate factions, each with their own philosophy on how to train the next generation of mutants, blah, blah, blah. To make matters worse, the Beast, desperate for a way to salvage Xavier's dream, has brought the original 5 X-Men forward in time to see what their actions had created. And to everyone's surprise, they have decided to stay. Okay, I don't even know how that's even possible, but, whatever. So now there's a Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. I don't know which school is which. I don't know. I guess, whatever. Kitty Pryde's a professor, and she takes the new, the original X-Men, the teenage X-Men from the 60s, out on a reconnaissance mission to see what's going on. And this is what's going on. They find this woman that looks like Zealot from Wildcats with a star tattoo and a bunch of piercings in her lips and nose, riding some sort of dinosaur thing. And, of course, he's got to use language that's really not necessarily appropriate for younger audiences. I realize that a lot of the readership for X-Men are adults now. But if this had been my introduction to X-Men, yeah. Okay, I have to admit I laughed at your raspberry. All right. But if this had been the first X book I had ever seen, I would not be an X-Men fan, period. Because this is just crap. I'm sorry. It looks pretty. Frank Cho's art is awesome as always. But what the heck does this have to do with anything? It just... I'm thinking back to my first X-Men issue, which we're going to talk about what my first X-Men issue is on tonight's show at 9 p.m. But my first X-Men issue was 196, and it was a completely different type of story. There was actually a story there. This is, I don't know what this is, other than weird combination of elements thrown together to have a fight. Okay, I didn't draw the rest of the artwork in there. But basically, the teenagers fight those monsters and stuff, and then the Sentinels come, and they're surrounded by Sentinels, and they don't even know what Sentinels are yet, because those things didn't exist when they were teenagers. So they're all like, Kitty Pryde's like, get them out, get out of here, we're gonna get our butts kicked. And Cyclops and his adult team come rescue them, and he's like, oh gee, that's a real smart move there, Pride. Why'd you take them out in the field when they aren't even trained yet? Thanks, type thing. I just kind of I just lost interest real fast. Like I said, pretty to look at, but there's no story. So 2.5 stars. And that is our reviews for this week. or actually for the day, rather. I'm so used to doing a weekly show, I still haven't gotten used to doing it daily. My apologies. So, if you have questions for me, you go to Quoth the Raven LBR72 at gmail.com. Subject QTR questions, and please indicate whether or not you want your name and locale read on air. You can also reach me on Facebook at lewis.brightraven, deviantart.com/brightraven, on YouTube at Quoth the Raven, Lewis Brightraven. Again, the Gmail address is quoththeravenlbr72 at gmail.com, or on Yahoo, mail at lewisbrightraven at yahoo.com. I will see you folks again tonight. My normal weekly podcast is on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight's episode will be I'm trying to think of it. Going back to the seasons of our youth is the theme tonight. And I did an interview with Ted Davies on his channel, Ted Davies Artistry, recently, where he interviewed me about my basically the human side of me, I guess you could say, rather than the comic side. And I thought he was gonna like ask a lot of different questions, and he did. So I had prepared a different presentation. And so we're going to use that presentation tonight, and we're going to talk about the books I read as a little kid, what got me into collecting, and what led into me working in professional comics. Okay, that'll be tonight at 9:00 p.m. Until then, I wish you all well, and stay safe. And we'll see you next time.